What is up, everybody? Hey, welcome to the Typical Browns Fan Podcast, TBF Pod, baby. Typical Browns Fan Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. I just dropped in on you guys without even giving you a notice. I didn't give anybody any warnings. I was like, I need to go live today sometime. And when you're married with 3 kids, it's hard to schedule anything. It's hard to be very consistent on scheduling stuff because once you schedule something, you best believe something's going to get in the way. It's like a curse. It's like I'm about to schedule something. Something the kid's sick or something's happening. This is going on. It's like, now I gotta cancel it. So I figured, hey, I got this window of time to hop on and talk about some Jim Schwartz stuff that I want to get off my chest. But before I do that, the Land Media Group has a special presentation tonight over at the Let's Go Crunch podcast. We're going to be live at 7. They're going to broadcast the battle of the undefeateds. 6-0, Let's Go 6-0 Cleveland Crunch versus the 6-0 Torontos. I forgot their names. Sorry, I should have did my homework before I went on. But Cleveland versus Toronto, up in Toronto, head-to-head matchup, 6-0s, the battles of the undefeated. So right now, go to the Let's Go Crunch podcast page on YouTube or wherever you're following them at, and tune in 7. It's going to be a very special episode. Follow them too. It's brought to you by the Land Media Group, which we're all a part of there at the Bearded Browns podcast. This is the Typical Browns podcast that you're listening to, so thank you for tuning in. Share the stream. Let me know right now where you're listening from, what you're listening on, and most importantly, are you okay with Jim Schwartz resigning? We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're also going to talk about a couple of coaches that got promoted and signed. We're also going to talk about Myles, Garrett, and Carson Schwesinger winning some awards. It's going to be a fun show, so please tune in. This show is brought to you by Lego Heads Barber Saloon. Lego Heads Barber Saloon, located in Berea, Ohio. Listen, I know you guys are always talking about my beard and how beautiful it looks. It's 99% their product. You go there, talk to Marlon, get a haircut, get a beard trim, and you let them know that the Typical Browns fan podcast and the Bearded Browns podcast sent you, and it'll hook you up. It is a fine establishment. He's got good beard products for you to put on your beard to keep it protected from the elements. Like, it's been a harsh winter here in Cleveland, Ohio. Very harsh. I mean, probably all over the United States has been pretty harsh, but specifically here in Strongsville, Ohio, my beard has been dry constantly because of the elements. And when I go out, it's just bad. I'm itching, scratching my beard, but his products help me a lot. I got the beard balm and the beard oil, and I come home, take a shower, put that in. It takes the itch away, and it also helps it nice and strong, and it makes it grow. So go there, get a beard trimmer, buy some products, and let Marlon know we sent you here at the Ohio Land Media Group. So let's get into it, guys. Thank you for tuning in again. Please share the feed, comment below where you're listening from. Let me know who controls the thermostat in your home. It's been a battle here in my house. My wife runs a little hot. I run a little cold. And we have the Nest thermostat. So we're always on the app trying to sneak a couple temperatures up or a couple temperatures down. And it's a battle between sometimes you hear it cut off. Sometimes you hear the thermostat cut on. Our electric bill is super high because of it. But it's a battle because there's elements out there in the winter, blistery cold. When is spring coming? Was it 6 more weeks? Did the groundhog see a shadow? Man, this is probably one of the worst winters I've ever experienced here and that I can remember. Maybe I'm just speaking out of just not memorizing it, but it's been horrible. What's up, Harry? OBX, North Carolina. How is the weather in North Carolina in the OBX? The wonderful, probably beautiful and sunshine. You're probably sitting at a beach watching the show, and I'm sitting there in a hoodie and sweatpants, wondering when am I going to get my next warm food. Man, it is tough here, guys. It is tough. Chewy says, I'm okay with Schwartz resigning because he was an amazing coordinator, but the defense on the road sucked. Yes, you're right. But we did give up 31 points to the Titans. See, people are finally coming to the realization that Jim Schwartz was Jim Schwartz. He's appreciated. Not that not that he isn't like a bum, but we're realizing, he did have some flaws. He did have some flaws. In my last show, I kind of expressed some of his flaws that he had, especially specifically on the road. If you go back to the Texans game in the playoff, huge. That whole year was weird on the road. Even this year, if you look at the stats, he's given up a lot of weird stats on the road. And England, we had that game won. You say what you say. You can say what you want to say about Dylan Gabriel, but that game was won. If the defense would have done its job, but instead Carson Wentz drove 80 yards for the win. That's why sometimes when people say, "Oh, I see it all the time now on my Facebook. People are currently saying we're screwed. You're not going to be able to replace Jim Schwartz. I have a difference of opinion, and I'm hoping to share that with you guys tonight. Just let me know what you guys think in the comments about this. Also, let me know who controls the thermostat in your home. I want to know who is really in charge. Whoever's in charge of the thermostat, in my opinion, is in charge of the whole house because they have complete control. It's like control the remote. I have kids, so they control the remote. I'll admit that. Whatever they want to watch, we're going to watch any day. Any day. Blake from the Dogs Podcast has helped me realize that about shorts. Yeah, Blake, I love the Dogs Podcast. Give them a follow. They probably don't need me to tell you. They probably follow them anyways. They're pretty big on social media. I was just on there a couple weeks ago, actually last week, last week with Josh, and we were talking about the coaching situation. Really cool. I've been on there a couple of times with Josh. Really good podcast. So let's get into some Browns news real quick. Henry Clark, 2 feet of snow. These people are definitely not Clevelanders. They're freaking out. You got 2 feet of snow in North Carolina? Oh boy, the world's about to end, man. How in the world does North Carolina get 2 feet of snow? I thought that was a safe place. That's crazy. The weather has been weird all year. This weather, I saw last week, Florida was like 30 degrees. We're planning a Disney trip with the family during spring break, I believe. One of those. I forget the time frame. Oh, March, May. We're doing it in May for my daughter's birthday. And we're like, man, hopefully the weather's not too extreme because it's either going to be hot or it's going to be rainy around that time. So we're preparing for both. We're bringing ponchos and shorts. That's it. That's all we're bringing in Florida. Hopefully the weather's good down there. So let's get on to the news. First of all, the news that broke today, Browns are expected to name Christian Jones wide receiving coach. Now, you might be asking yourself, who in the heck is Christian Jones? He was the tight ends coach last year under Kevin Stefanski. So Kevin Stefanski brought him on last year from the Giants. And under him, Harold Fannin had a big rookie season. Now the Browns are going to retain him underneath Coach Todd Monken, and he's going to get elevated to a wide receiver coach. So I'm hopefully expecting some new things out of the wide receiving core, right? Like Isaiah Bond, hopefully he'll come in the camp and he will show some improvement, having some offseason work as opposed to coming in with no offseason. Maybe Jerry Judy's on the jug machine. He's learning to actually close his hands properly when he touches the ball. Maybe Hero Fanning's improving as he speaks right now. Even our running back Sampson and I don't know if Junkin's good enough to catch the ball. Maybe he's sitting down catching. But I'm excited to see what Christian Jones can do. If he helped Harold Fannin be good or develop, I'm excited what he can do, especially because they should be bringing in some young wide receivers to help. We'll see. The second news that dropped today, the Browns are hiring Bobby Johnson as assistant offensive line coach. He is from Akron. That's the second person they hired from local here. He was the offensive line coach for the Commanders the last 2 seasons. Johnson's also previously been offensive line coach for the Giants and the Bills. Yes. So that helps. Assistant line coach, getting some experience underneath Warhop over there to help develop that offensive line, which, by the way, can we talk about the offensive line real quick? What are we going to do with the offensive line? I saw a mock today and I kind of agree with it. What do you guys think about the Browns going offensive line for the first two picks in the first round? And I know people are going to have a heart attack because they feel like they should get Tate at 6 or receiver at 24. I can see them actually, depending on what they do in free agency. Obviously, free agency would change the scope of the draft, but depending on what they do in free agency, I can see them drafting two offensive linemen because that's the dire need. You need offensive line help. You literally have no one on offensive line other than Dwayne Jones. That's all you have currently. He seems to always seem to have issues with his health. Chewy said Judy might not have butterfingers this year. Hopefully Christian Jones could help him, man. I don't know. It seems like that's who Judy is. He's gonna go on streaks where he's hot and streaks when he just drops the ball. And that was the risk of Barry giving him that contract right away after signing him, after trading for him. That's risky. We'll see though. Chewy thinks you should go receiver first and then O-line. Maybe, yeah, I agree with that method, but I think they might value offensive line more than receiver. And I had this thought weeks ago, and I was going to bring up on the podcast during our Senior Bowl. By the way, Bearded Browns podcast, 7:30 this Tuesday. We're going to have Barry Shuck on. He was at the Senior Bowl, so he's going to drop by and give us an update of who impressed him the most. So you want to tune in for, if you're into the draft, like we're starting to get into the draft now, who the Browns might pick. If you're into mocks, you want to be the smart one, listen to this show this week with Barry Shuck, and you probably could find a sleeper. Probably. Wink, wink. Right? Maybe. Harry Clark believes that we have to go offensive line. Whoever starts needs protection. I agree. Harry Clark. That's why I think they might go offensive line the first round and then receivers the second round. I wouldn't mind receiver, offensive line, because I do think you need an alpha dog number one receiver. But one thing we can trust, I mean, if you trust Barry's last year's draft, that Barry's going to make the right pick, right? Because Barry picked Carson Schwesinger with that second round pick, and everybody nearly had a heart attack. Like, who is this guy? Like, who is this bum? Who are they drafting? Lo and behold, diamond in the rough, Carson Schwesinger. We're going to talk about him a little bit. Josh thinks if we get a free agent wide receiver, go O-line. Here's the deal, though. I don't think we were going to go after a free agent wide receiver because Barry said in his press conference, I'm breaking down that press conference, that 5 minutes that he spent talking before Munkin, and I'm going to talk about that probably next week. But he broke down what he said in his press conference is that they're looking to get younger. So I don't see them going out and going after a older free agent wide receiver, because I think they're under the impression the offense sucks, and in order to get better, we need to develop young talent. That's just my opinion. There's Joshua says there's too good of talent in wide receivers to miss in the first. I agree. That's why I think maybe they go receiver with that first pick, because there's a lot of them, because they start to drop off a little bit after that. I haven't really gotten to the draft too much. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be talking like this, but I'm excited. So tune in this Tuesday, 7:30. Barry Schutz is going to be on. He's going to give you his sleepers, his picks, and people that he likes. We'll probably definitely talk about offensive line and receivers, because I think those are the dire need that we need on this team. We'll see. We'll see what the Browns do. Bearded, on to the next topic. Myles Garrett and Carson Schwesinger won an award this weekend at the NFL Honors Award. Myles Garrett unanimously, all 50 votes for Defensive Player of the Year. All 50 votes went to him. Now, if you break the NFL sack record, and if someone wouldn't have voted for him, I think that person should have just been voted out. But the fact that he broke the NFL sack record on the team that he did it on offensively kind of values the importance of that sack record. I mean, it's a little different if the offense was a high scoring offense and you were matching points with the other team and he was rushing the quarterback during passing situations, but he wasn't. This team was behind a lot this year. And the opposite team ran the ball a lot this year. And Myles Garrett still was able to break that sack record. It would be interesting to see what he does next year with a better quarterback and most likely a better offensive system where you should put up more points. I mean, more than 13 to 15 points the last 2 years that you put up, right? Let's see what Myles can do when you give him a lead or when the game is close and the team has to throw the ball, actually. According to PFF, he ranked first among defenders with 92.7. 93 point 3 pass rush grade, first among defenders, most valuable defender per PFF. PFF gave him the most valuable defender. Good man. He's a generational talent and he's here. I'm hoping we don't waste any more of his years. But we need to fix this offense stat pretty quick. Pretty quick. Derek West compared Carson Schwesinger to Luke Kuechly. I agree. 100%. That's a good comparison. Speaking of Carson Schwesinger, he wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. The last person to do that on the Browns is the only person to do that before him, Chip Banks in 1982. A very long time ago. Matter of fact, I was 1 year old. I was born in 1981. Chip Banks won the Defensive Rookie of the Year in 1982 for your Cleveland Browns. Pretty good, I would say. Carson Schwesinger first in tackles for rookies defensively. Rookies, he's first in tackles for loss, and first in run stops. Run stops is a new interesting stat. I'm going to get nerdy on you guys. Run stops is a new interesting stat that I need you guys to start looking at because they're going to start counting those between stops and tackles are different. And stops are more impressive than tackles because stops allows you, there's some algorithm out there that decides what a stop is, meaning if it's 3rd and 4 and you stop somebody from getting a first down, they're going to start counting that as a stat. Interesting. So as an analytical guy that I am, I want to give you guys a heads up on that. That's going to probably start being on the Bearded Browns podcast on Tuesday nights. So tune into that. You hear a lot about run stops, but he was first in run stops, meaning he was tackling. His tackles weren't just tackles. They were impactful tackles. They stopped drives. They impact field position. So as a rookie, and he came in as came in and it was given the green dot because of who was that middle linebacker that decided to retire before the season started. Just decided to retire. So they said, well, Carson, you're next. As a rookie, had the green dot calling plays, making sure the defense was lined up correctly, and it pays off for him getting Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. He got 40 out of the 50 votes that was voted on as far as Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. So if you total that up, Carson got 40 out of 50. Myles got 50 out of 50. So out of 100 votes, you had 2 Browns players got 90 out of 100 votes on their defense. Their defense got 90% of the vote for most valuable player in the league. See, that speaks volumes as far as how well this defense played despite the poor record. Because you post on social media, I do that a lot for both my page and the Bearded Browns. You'll see a lot of people say, well, yeah, you're 5-12 though. You're 5-12. Well, how's that 5-12 record? Despite being 5-12, the voters saw the value in these 2 players so much that most of their votes went towards them. Despite the horrible record, the voters said these people know how to play. These people are MVPs. Because they know how horrible this offense is. So they know that this offense needs fixed. So I'm hoping well, we do know because Barry's been talking about it every time he has an opportunity to, that he's going to fix this offense. Despite being 5-10, your defense was top 5 to top 10 in most defensive categories. The most, despite the inefficiencies on offense, these two people stood out. Carson and Myles. Congratulations on making our season enjoyable. Because I remember Myles chasing the sack record, and I thought I had to tune in every week. While despite our offense dragging its butt behind, I was hoping Myles would get it, and at the expense of watching Myles try to get the sack record, I enjoyed watching Carson going from sideline to sideline, getting tackles where he would be in a totally opposite side of the field, and all of a sudden he's getting tackles, and I'm like, "How this guy is a rocket, insane." Derek West said the kid is special. If the offense is if the offense patched in the if the offense is patched in the draft next year, it's going to be wild, regardless of the defensive coordinator. And we're about to get into that right now. Perfect segue, Derek West. Appreciate you, sir. They did all this. And despite all that, we lose Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz resigned from his DC coordinator position. He says, I'm done. I'm out. I don't know if they were trying to work things out. I don't know if they're trying to get some deals together, but either way, he put in his papers that says, I'm out. Peace. So that means he can't go to another team. I believe he can't be. I don't know if the Browns can trade him because he resigned. Or if he tries to sign with another team, I do think they could get some draft picks for him or a draft pick. I saw as high as a 5th round. So if a team's willing to want to get a 5th round for Jim Schwartz, then we'll see. If not, he'll probably have to sit out the remainder of his contract. It's kind of like the Tomlin situation. Whoever picks him up, they're going to have to give Pittsburgh some draft compensation for it. The organization that the defense ran is still there. The defensive talent, that's why when people say, well, this defense is going to kind of fall off a little bit. I don't know if I agree with that entirely. Now, I'm not trying to minimalize what Jim Schwartz meant to the defense. I'm not trying to say he's a bum of a defensive coordinator. But if you're keeping the scheme, like Todd Monken said, and the players that play the scheme and fit the scheme perfectly are still there, what drop-off is there expected to be? Other than the voice calling the plays. Monken said that we're going to keep the same system. We're going to keep the same game plan for the Browns. He, matter of fact, said a couple of things. He said, when I plan to play the Cleveland Browns, I plan on chipping Myles Garrett, not Jim Schwartz. And while that was being said, reports are coming out saying that while he said that Jim Schwartz was in the building because they were meeting together before the press conference. My guess is they were trying to get a deal done before the press conference happens. But they couldn't. So they came out, was like, you know what, Jim Schwartz is not here. But we're still going to do this press conference. Josh said scheme can undermine talent, though. Yeah, but the scheme is still there and the talent is still there. So basically what you're doing is copy and pasting. So what you do is you find somebody, we're going to get into that, most likely in-house would be my guess, would be who I would want, or somebody who's very well versed of the scheme in which we run. You keep the same cadences, play calling, whatever verbiage you want to use, and you just still play. You still have a leader in the room. You don't have someone like me who's going to probably be talking to these grown men with the Mickey Mouse voice. No, you get a leader who demands respect and demands some type of attention, and then you say, "This is your leader," and then you call plays. To me, it's a copy and paste situation. Copy and paste. We'll see, though. I could be wrong. I've been wrong a lot because I wanted Grant and Shieldhouse, and they got Todd Monken. So don't come here for any news other than my opinion, because most likely I will be wrong. Also, too, I wanted Kenny Pickett so to start the season last year because I was hoping it would work well as far as the handoff is concerned. But it didn't go that way. Horrible quarterback situation, regardless of whoever was quarterback. It was a horrible offensive year. Let's not bring that up. I'm getting PTSD just thinking about it. I don't think Munkin's comments were meant to be a slight at Schwartz. I think he felt the way when he said that when I planned for the Browns, I planned to chip Myles, not Carson, not my I planned to chip Myles, not Jim. And he also said that we're gonna run the same scheme. And he said one more thing. Oh, that he came here for the players, not Jim Schwartz. I don't think he said all these things and he said it at this point of the press conference because before then, two questions came in. And the second question, he said, listen, I'm not going to get into Jim Schwartz thing. I want to be respectful. A couple of questions come in. And the next question is this question about Jim Schwartz and the scheme. And he said, listen, he even said it. He said those words. He said, I wasn't going to get into this right now, but I think I need to say it. He said, I came here for the players, not Jim Schwartz. I think the players in this scheme are going to fit, and I'm not going to do anything. And in that same room were the same people that worked underneath Jim Schwartz. All Jim Schwartz assistants was in that room hearing him say, we're not changing anything. We're going to change the scheme. We're not going to change the scheme. We're going to keep the scheme. We're going to run fast pace. This is what this team is comfortable in. This is what they're best at. I played against this defense 6 times. They're great. We're not changing anything. So I don't think it was a slight at Schwartz. I think he was more reassuring the team underneath Schwartz that their jobs are safe. Munkin was asked about Schwartz 3 times before this comment was dropped. 3 times. And I think he got a little frustrated. He even said I wasn't even going. He didn't want to bring it up, but he was forced to because they kept on asking. And you notice after that question, it stopped after that answer. So here he asks, any DC names being thrown out there? Perfect segue. It's like you guys are in my notes right now. We're going to get into the names that I found and the names that I would be interested in. Now, there's probably more names out there. So don't refer to me as the main source of information, but these are the people that I think can fit in well with this scheming system. Okay. 2 of them are already in-house. And something tells me that they're going to stay in-house here. I think they're going to promote within. Now, I think whatever decision they make is going to be the best decision for the team. But I cannot see them going outside of the building, bringing somebody in after changing from Jim Schwartz. I think it'd be better for them. I think it will be better for them to promote within to keep morale up. So with that being said, my first candidate is Banda. Ephraim Banda. Ephraim Banda, a lot of people, I've been posting him. If you follow me on social media, you kind of know who he is. I've been talking about him for the last couple of weeks. A lot of people are saying, who is this guy? It doesn't make sense. He's a bum. And he's like, you don't even know who he is, but yet you're calling him a bum. It's weird. When Jim Schwartz came in, this is the reason why I'm starting with him, because I think he's probably high on the totem pole here. When Jim Schwartz came in 2023, Banda came in with him. He was handpicked by Jim Schwartz to help run the back end of the defense as a safety coach, and to be the defense pass game coordinator. Banda has been deeply involved in the coverage structure. He disguised packages in the weekly game planning on defense. He already knows the system. He has been a part of the game plan. He has been disguising packages. He has been coordinating the defensive pass game. He's been coordinating that, telling Denzel Ward where to go, telling where Grant Delpit where to go, telling other corners where to go, telling where linebackers where to go, how to go into coverage and how to disguise it. He has been communicating already to the defense all of this. So why not him? They've heard his voice for 3 years communicating how to play their position. So if you want an easy transition, why not Banda? He's been in the league. He's already had defensive coordinator interviews this year with Dallas and Philadelphia. Structure. He has been under the Jim Schwartz structure for 3 years. And you keep the togetherness of the group, right? You keep the same voice in there in their heads. I'm sure Denzel Ward won't mind Banda being still there. I'm sure uh, uh, Grant Delpit wouldn't mind. Which, by the way, I'm a little worried about Grant Delpit. I think we need to get on him and sign because I think if there, we're so focused on Myles Garrett wanting to request a trade. Grant Delpit's got 1 year on his deal. He can choose to sign or not sign, and then go somewhere else for some more money. I think Grant Delpit should be the focal point of fans' worry right now because Grant Delpit has helped change the back end of that defense playing in box safety. That's something that put a pin in that. We'll have to talk about that later. Also, playing press man defense with Campbell. Campbell is so good going from Jacksonville to here. Why? Banda's communication of how to operate and where to go and where to be and how to play a ball. Second name, I believe, could be a potential in-house candidate. And I think a lot of you know him because every time I bring up Banda's name, you guys bring up Jason Tarver. That's an easy, this is an easy transition here with both of these guys. Jason Tarver was here long before Schwartz. He's here the longest. He's coached the defense before at the Raiders. Derek West says, I believe in the defense and the development. Schwesinger has already got the green dot in his first year. Yep. Mason Graham has performed. We're about to get into Bush right now. Jason Tarver has developed linebackers very well here. JOK, Schwesinger, Bush. Linebackers have played well. Bush was a bum before he came here. And now he'll probably get a bigger contract somewhere else because probably we won't be able to pay him, unfortunately. But he improved here. So when you look at Jason Tarver, you say, wow, there's some development there. He's developed talent. And that's what you want to see as a defensive coordinator. Somebody who was hung out to dry with Devin Bush comes in and Tarver sees what he does well and executes it. Puts him in positions to be successful. All that points to exactly what Monken was talking about, highlighting people's strengths and operating and focusing on that and let them work with their strengths. Tarver was doing that. JOK didn't have a good rookie year. He developed over time before, unfortunately, his injury. He was developing well up to that point. Schwesinger, you have to put some Tarver on that. I don't want to diminish what Schwartz had to do, but Tarver works with the linebackers every day. So if you're going to give Schwartz credit for Schwesinger, you got to give Tarver a lot more credit because he been the one communicating 100% of the time. So Tarver is a good in-house development guy. Now, if you're looking for out of the house, I've been seeing this name linked to the Browns a lot. Corey Udelin. Corey Udelin and Todd Monken have a connection. They worked together in Jacksonville, 2009 to 2010. Corey operates in multiple scheme defensive systems, heavily influenced by his background of both 4-3 defense in Philadelphia and Denver, which is Schwartz's defense, wide 9, 4-3. Also, he did 3-4 in New England and in Cleveland. So he's here for some time and left. He's also with Houston currently right now. And as a secondary coach, he emphasizes versatility, a personnel driven schemes aimed to adapt to his players' strengths rather than adhering to a rigid philosophy. Who does that sound like? Everything Munkin said. Munkin said, we're going to focus on players and focus on what their strengths are. We're going to adapt the system strengths of the player because the player makes the scheme and the scheme helps the player. So those are my three. I think all three of those show potential to be good enough defensive coordinators so where you won't see a drop off. This team is talented. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, anyone could come in here and draft and be okay because I don't think that. I think it has to be a certain person that knows the 4-3 scheme, that knows the system, and that can get the players respect, especially if it's somebody outside of the building already. Because they're going to be bitter already with Jim Schwartz being gone. What can kind of heal them a little bit is the fact if you bring up a Tarver or a Banda who they have a relationship with anyways, they've seen them for 3 years, they're familiar with them. So that might help a little bit. But then again, it's the Browns, so it might blow up in their face, and we all will say, "See, I told you so. You should have never got rid of Jim Schwartz." It can happen. It can really happen. Unfortunately, it's the Browns, man. It is the Browns. So when we're thinking of a defensive coordinator, this is something I'm going to hit on, and I'm going to save most of this for a different podcast. But Andrew Berry hit on 4 attributes that he looked for that they look for when looking for a head coach. These 4 attributes were global intelligence, not just book smart, but emotional intelligence and football knowledge also. The second thing is CEO leadership, can handle both big picture strategy and day-to-day details on the ground, meaning you do head coaching stuff, but you also got to make sure you guys, your defensive coordinators, your wide receiver coaches, and everyone else is doing their job. Number 3, innovation. Have a history of trying new things and being creative. And number 4, collaboration. Work well with others across all areas of football operation. Those are the 4 things Barry said that they look for as a coach. They're 4 pillars that they look for when they were looking for a coach, and they landed on Munkin. And did they get it right? Did they get it right? I guess we'll find out in 2 to 3 years, but if you look at Munkin's background, it's pretty spot on with what they're saying here. Barry said they were also looking at characteristics of these things in a coach. These characteristics, a performance track record where they've been through all where they've been through their all where they have been through all their career and how their units have done. So the 3 characteristics outside of the 4 attributes are performance track record, where they've been throughout their career, and how the units in which they have had been in charge of performed. So when you're looking at it, your defensive coordinator, you're going to have to look at it from this lens. So when you think of Tarver, I brought up some points about Tarver. The linebackers have developed well. When you think of Banda, you have to think of how well has our pass defense been this past couple of years. One of the best in the league last year. Where they struggled with was the run defense, unfortunately. Sadly. Specifically on the road. So when we're viewing the next defensive coordinator, those are the things to look at, those 7 things. When I think of this is how I view the head coaching search now, or any person of hire that is going to go there, as far as Andrew Berry being in charge of helping, looking for the person, you have to look at it from those 7 points. Munkin had some success, man. And I think that's where Jim Schwartz fell off. His performance track record as a whole was not good. Outside of being a defensive coordinator, but then there were spots in where he struggled on the road, where you have a lead and then you give it up in England, where you don't perform well in the playoff game against Houston. You failed as one time as a head coach. Monken has a pretty good track record, and I'm going to get into it real quick. Wasn't going to talk about this, but I feel like I want to encourage some people out there who are kind of down Monken. Let's get into how he's done with his unit when he was in charge. Not pause. What he has done with his units when he was in charge of those said units. Okay. We'll first start off with the Georgia offensive evolution. He transformed Georgia from being a conservative offense to a diverse and innovative. Yards per play went from 6 yards per play in 2019 to 7.27 yards in 2022. He used tight ends creatively at Georgia. They were leading receivers on the team, Brock Bowers, right? You use them innovatively in personal packages. And that's why a lot of people are high right now on Harold Fannin, because everywhere Monken went, the tight end exploded because the innovative personnel packages they use for tight ends is off the chart. Specifically, the 12 personnel innovation used 12 personnel running backs, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers 60% of the time in Georgia. Is that something we're going to see here? Derek West said the staff Monken has been putting together so far has been giving me hope. It's looking good. I believe the new DC will be a great fit if he has any say about it. I agree. I think Monken is coming at this from a perspective. I want somebody who matches this, that they're going to look at a player and say what he does well. And we're going to focus on that. In Tampa Bay, 2018, he helped set Tampa Bay's club records to total yards of 6,648. I think James Winston was there. Passing yards 5,125, and they scored 396 points. Jameis Winston. Anybody interested in Jameis as a potential quarterback again? That would be a fun ride, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be a fun ride? Oklahoma State, 2011, 2012 set school records for total yards passing, completion percentage, points, and passing touchdowns. Here's the thing that we need to understand. He brought this up in the press conference. He created a philosophy called this. Todd Monken created a philosophy called this: space players. What that means is focus on all 53.3 yards of the field in width to create space for his playmakers. So what Todd Monken likes to do on offense is look at not just the field from end zone from goalpost to goalpost, but from goal line to goal line, and tries to figure out, how can I maximize the space with this player? And it started back in 2011, 2012 with Oklahoma State. Baltimore Ravens, you saw it, 2024. First team in NFL history with 4,000 passing yards and 3,000 rushing yards in the same season. Everything Andrew Berry said and that he and the team look for points to Monken. As a matter of fact, they said Monken stood head and shoulders above the rest. And when you look at this track record, you got to see why. Because Shieldhouse, though he had some very encouraging traits, his track record was not this. Offensively, too, we have to understand, like Schwartz probably has a good track record on defense as a defensive coordinator. But we're talking about offense, in which the last 2.5 years you sucked at. So why in the world did he, meaning Jim, think that he was even going to get the job? Unless he had a crazy offensive coordinator in his back pocket, it was always going to be an offensive guy. That's why I'm confused by fans upset that he didn't get the job. When your issue is on offense, why are you going to bring a defensive guy to coach your whole team? You're going to lose your offensive coordinator with 2 good years. He's going to be head coach somewhere. Then you have to start all over. You see that problem with Detroit right now. Ben Johnson racked up yards there for 2 years, 3 years. Became a head coach, Chicago. Now offensively, Detroit struggling, begging, looking for the next Ben Johnson. You always go with an offensive guy. Always. You know how to beat a good defense. You score more points than their offense. It's all Tim, Richard, you're right. It's all about offense. Thanks for the comments, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for the comments. You guys drive this feed, this live, because your comments and your support for this podcast means a lot. James Frank says, I love JMO, and maybe he would be great with Shador. Maybe. Maybe he will also be bad, because I don't know if he can deliver him from those pick sixes, dog. That would be my worry. Right? He's a gunslinger, man. I love his personality. I love when he was here. I love that season. It kind of like gave relief, comic relief from losing. So according to them, they have their guy. So the question is, are they telling the truth, right? Are they telling the truth about Todd Monken? And I think time is going to tell. My worry is this, and I'll end the show on here, is there was a collaborative effort in finding Todd Monken. But my question is, who is a part of that collaborative effort? Who is in the room when decisions need to be made? Derek West, Louisville, Kentucky. Derek, I'm pausing the podcast right here, right now, because I want to talk about Louisville, Kentucky. Me and my wife, before we had our third child, first son, we would go to Louisville, Kentucky every year. And I would assume you know why. We would go on the Bourbon Trail every year. That is where we would go. We would call them our marriage trips, where we and her would just get away from kids and we would just focus on each other once a year. And we would go down to Bardstown, Kentucky, Louisville area, and we would sip on some bourbon and eat some good food. I miss those days. I miss those days. I love my son. He's 10 months. Love my son. But I miss being able to have that type of freedom. Louisville, Kentucky is one of my favorite places to go. If you're not into bourbon, if you're not in the bourbon trail or drinking, Louisville, Kentucky is a beautiful place. Kentucky is a beautiful state. Go down to Bardstown, stay in the Jailer's Inn, experience the culture down there. It is wonderful. They're nice. They're great. Beautiful place. I cannot wait to go back in a couple years, hopefully, with my wife, where we can sit in the Jailer's Inn. I can sip on some bourbon and someone talk to us about ghost stories. It's a fun time. Sorry, back to the script. Sorry, Derek. Thanks for the comment, though. Appreciate it. Love Louisville. Next time I'm in that area, maybe we can meet up somewhere. It's gonna be a couple years old. My kid's old enough where my mother-in-law could feel safe enough to babysit 3 kids. So according to them, they got the guy. So who's in the room? Who's in the room when all these decisions are made? Because here's my worry. If it's a collaborative effort, and let's say technically there's 6, 7 people in there, and most of them are Haslam's family, then who's making the decision? If it comes down to a tie, if it comes down to one vote, who's making the decision? I am scared because it was brought up. The question was, when you made the decision to hire Todd Monken to Jimmy Haslam, he stopped and he said, when we made the decision. When we made the decision. He made sure to put we in there. But for me, when I heard that, I'm like, well, who's we? Because if it's you, JW, your wife, and Andrew Barry, and it's a tie, who's going to have the tiebreaker? Or is Andrew Barry getting outvoted 3-1 because your wife and your son doesn't want to go against you? So when you say we, are you technically meaning me? Because the votes are going to go toward who you want anyways. Now, there are rumors that he wanted Jim Schwartz, and there's rumors that Andrew Barry wanted an offensive guy, and I think they settled for – settled is a wrong word, but I think they pinpointed Todd Monken because he was the best of both of them, experienced and innovative and young and someone offensively who Obviously, I just spoke of his history on offense is pretty good. Pretty good. All right. Earl the Moon Boo said if Munkin is smart, he target Raheem. Raheem Morris is already signed with he was my top guy, Earl, by the way. Raheem Morris. I agree with you. He's versatile too. He already signed with the San Francisco 49ers, unfortunately. He was my top guy, honestly. As far as being outside of the room, because I think they should promote within still, but I think Raheem Morris would have been great for sure. 100%. Yeah, I agree. Raheem Morris was my top guy. Unfortunately, he's gone. Unfortunately, Raheem Morris got picked up by the San Francisco 49ers, which was rumored to be going after Jim Schwartz. But I think with all the tap dancing going on here, they kind of was like, let's get Raheem Morris, which I think might be a better pickup for them because I think Raheem Morris will do well there with that type of offense they run in San Francisco. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in today. I appreciate the comments, the love, the shares. Continue to follow Typical Browns Fan Podcast here on Facebook. I'm on X. I'm on all the platforms. Follow me there. Also, don't forget 7:30 live, all platforms. The Bearded Browns podcast. We will go live. We will have Barry Shuck. We will talk about the Senior Bowl. He will give us his sleepers and those who impressed him. So you might want to tune in and jot some names down. Start looking up some stats because they might be in your Browns team next year. And don't forget Saturdays 10 o'clock Browns Morning Brew. We will be live. The guys will be live 10 o'clock. And the special episode of Let's Go Crunch tonight. They're going to live stream the game. It's a live stream party. Battle of 6-0s, Cleveland versus Toronto. Tune in and just talk with the guy. Even if you don't know soccer, I'm thinking about tuning in. I don't know much about soccer, but I'm going to support the Land Media Group and I'm going to support the Let's Go podcast. I'm going to help the algorithm push that out. I'm going to comment. I'm going to ask questions about soccer. I'm going to say, why did they kick the ball? What does this mean? What is the red card? That helps you get to know soccer. Soccer is actually coming up as a sport in America. So I think we should get ahead of that. Haywood Armstrong says, I just read an article that says Schwartz decided to stay. What do you know? Go Browns. You just read an article just now that Schwartz decided to stay? I don't know if that's true. I mean, I've been on here for the last 52 minutes. So that would be the last person to ask. I would assume one of my guys would have texted me. Nope, nothing. Nothing. So I don't know. I'll look into that. Follow our socials and you will find out if Jim Schwartz is staying or not. Well, that's all I have for you tonight. Thanks everybody tuning in. Give us a follow. The Land Media Group, give them a follow. Let's Go Crunch podcast. Give them a follow. Bearded Browns podcast. Give them a follow. Typical Browns Fan podcast. Give me a follow. Until next time, like always, go Browns.